This morning session, I've been up for a couple of hours. It's about 7 o'clock right now on the West Coast, up here in Bellingham, Washington, out by Mount Baker, and doing my meditation and doing my matrix energetics and getting the space set up. Every Friday morning, I do a video session for you. It's always encoded with matrix energetics, and by that I mean you can have a change simply from the chair you're in right now. So if you want to, you can test something for yourself. You know, your neck, your shoulders, how your back moves, walk around, see how you feel. And in a little bit, you can see if anything's different. And then, of course, later today, you can also notice what's different in your world and what's different after starting to be in our world, in our tribe. So welcome, and you might put an intention out there of what you would want to change, what you would want. If you want information about something like what to do, I'm titling this one, how to know what to do when you absolutely need to know. So years ago, or first I should back up. I'm not in a class today, and it's a class that I was thinking of doing and wanting to do and looking forward to doing for most of this year. And I knew it was coming up in December, and then as it was getting closer, I started to have a few little roadblocks, and I thought, I don't think I'm going to go. And so I thought, I'm going to check in. I'm going to check in with myself and see what kind of information I'm getting. Am I supposed to go to this class? And you'd think I was. I wanted to go. It was a good deal to go. Everything looked good, but there was a couple things that made me just go, I'm not sure. And so I checked in, and I got a very surprising answer. I got, no, I'm not supposed to go. It's not optimum for me to go right now. Next year, which is so funny because I tend to jump and do things as soon as I want to do it. But that's what I was getting. So I followed my intuition, my matrix energetics windows, my dowsing, my muscle testing kind of ideas, and I didn't go. I didn't go. So they're doing the class right now down in San Diego. It's an amazing class. I know it is. And for some reason I'm not there. Years ago, it was 2011, and I had been unable to run since my birthday. Actually, that was my last run, a 25-mile run, and I had to walk the last mile or two because a problem came up, and it was a start of about a year and a half, pretty close to 2 years really, of being unable to run and seeing lots of practitioners and doctors and people because everybody was telling me, and I felt like I was literally dying. I mean, my kidneys, my liver, my GI tract, I was depressed. I couldn't run. I had terrible bone pain, and nobody could figure it out. And I missed some information along the way. I missed some information that could have saved me a lot of grief. But, it turned out the way it's supposed to turn out, and it led down a really amazing path, and we're now up here in the Pacific Northwest. But I missed something then that could have saved a lot of time and effort, and thank God I found it at some point. And so about that time, a little later, Ben was born, our first son, Ben, and it was great, but he had a funny little thing going on, so a funny little coughy, gaspy thing. And so our midwife said, you got to go to the doctor. And I was like, he was born at home, and the first night was more than a little scary. They wanted us to go to the hospital that night at midnight, and we convinced them to let us just have been in our bed for that night. And they said, well, we're coming in tomorrow morning early, and we're going to see how he's doing. And we didn't sleep, and Ben was doing his little gasping thing. And it's interesting how you think, why do we have such hard times? Especially a little kid, right? Comes into the world, and so there we were, and Jen's parents were there, and our aunt, and we were dressing him up, and I was so sad. I was terrified because I was dressing him up, and I knew that we weren't going to a well baby checkup thing. We were going because the midwife says, you got to go to the doctor because something's not right. And so we dressed him up in his little hat, his little toque, and it was October 6th. And so dressed up his little outfit, and he looked so cute. And I was so scared and so sad and like, oh no. And we hadn't told Jen's parents that anything was up. And so we took him to a pediatrician, and she looked at him and said, yeah, this doesn't look right. I'm going to have you go, don't even bother filling out the insurance stuff. Don't do anything. Just drive right on over to Children's Hospital in San Diego and just tell them you're going right into the NICU, and that I'm sending you right now. I'm calling him right now. And we're like, God dang it, man, what is going on? And so so I called Jen's parents and an aunt who was staying at our house, actually staying somewhere in San Diego, a half a mile from our house, and said, yeah, we're here, we're good, we're being admitted to the NICU. And it's like, I couldn't believe it. And they're very good. They kept me like okay and talked me down a bit. And so we walked into the NICU, and Dr. Lane, really cool doctor there, looked at me, looked at us, and looked at Ben and said, yeah, he looks like a normal kid, but he's got this funny thing. I've never seen it before. And I'm like, never seen it before. This is Children's Hospital in San Diego. So he said, we're going to watch him for a day or two, and we'll see what's going on. We'll run some cultures, we'll run some tests, we'll see. So there we were, and Jen and I were sitting in the NICU, great nurses and stuff, and we felt safe. I didn't call my midwives. That was one mistake, if you want to call it a mistake. I should have called the midwives and checked in a little bit more. And they started running tests, and they couldn't find anything. And then a couple of days into this, a different doctor walked in that I'd never seen before. I don't like him. I still don't like him. I didn't like anything about him. He was swarmy. He didn't seem to care about anybody. Little guy walked in, and nothing wrong with little guys, but didn't like him. And but he walked in, and a nurse that I did like was standing over there doing her paperwork in our room. That he had a one-on-one nurse with us, and he says, your son's going to be okay. He's going to be fine, but we have to give him antibiotics. And I was like, oh, thank God, just antibiotics. He's going to be just fine. I should have possibly at the time, now looking back, done what I'm going to tell you guys about. I should have checked in and found out what's the information that's really useful here. Is this true? Should we talk to Dr. Lane, who I trusted and knew and who had seen a few times? Or just go with what this random doctor was telling me that walked in that didn't seem to care about anything. And it was just my impression of him. Didn't like him. But I was just like so ecstatic. And so I remember going back home. I forgot I had to go do something at home. Jen was at the hospital there, and I'd get some more food for us or something. And I was driving my Audi back home, and I was so happy, like, oh, yay, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And, but nothing ever grew in the cultures. Nothing ever looked like it was wrong. But he started down about a 10-day, I think, path of antibiotics. And it was so stressful, so stressful. The nurses were great. Dr. Lane was great, although we never really saw him much besides that, except when he was, I've got a funny story about him. He's an awesome guy. But I still, every so often I think about it and think, golly, that would have been good to not do that, because there was nothing wrong with him. And turns out he was just in the birth canal a little long and had been compressed a little bit and was trying to like expand it out. He'd been like pushed into a little bit. So anyway, so what does it have to do with all of this with us is how do you get information, right? So that when you need it, you've got it and you can depend on it. A couple back in December of 2010, people were talking about fluoride was going to be added into the water in San Diego. And a editor for the Presidio newspaper, Presidio Sentinel, a local paper, really cool little paper, and the editor, Patty, had come to see me to do a matrix energetic session and to shift this, to make it so that it didn't happen, because it's really toxic. And, I didn't really do much research on fluoride, but I thought, okay, let's do that. Yeah, that's not good. They shouldn't put that in the water, right? And so in December of 2010, I did some energetic stuff and shifted patterns. It felt really good. Our friend who had worked with us a little bit and had been a client for a while also was big into trying to get this out of the water, not to let it be put in the water. And so we worked on it energetically, and I was in a state of mind at the time of pure matrix energetics that nothing can hurt you as long as you play with the energy and you got the right mindset. You don't believe in things. You can't get hurt by stuff. You don't have to do really anything in the physical world to make things happen. It's all magic. And so I was in that way of going, and it was great, right? Things were working great for us. But what happened was they didn't put it in the water. So miracle upon miracle, it didn't go in the water. But 3 months later, they just rammed it through illegally and put it in the water. They didn't go run it through anything. They just took a vote in city council. It's in the laws in San Diego that you have to run it, that sort of thing, by the voters and have an actual election. They didn't do that. They put it in the water. And so 3 months later, I'm running, and I was using, I was drinking tap water with a filter, but drinking tap water. And I got hurt in May. And I didn't realize that I had been poisoned by fluoride. And it was another year of drinking this stuff that almost got me, almost killed me. And I came to learn about a year later how bad it was. And I did the research and actually learned how it was super toxic, really, really toxic. It's more toxic than arsenic. If it falls on the floor, they got to call a hazmat team to clean it up, yet they put it in our water. And so when I was in San Diego in December and I got that information, it might have been useful to check in and find out, is this useful for me to drink? Do I need to do more checking on the water, on our filters? And even now I'm getting, yes, that would have been really cool to do, but I missed it. So today, this last few weeks when I got the download that I'm not supposed to go to that class in San Diego, it didn't make any sense, but I was getting a really clear indicator I'm not supposed to go to San Diego. And I don't know all the reasons why, but I knew that was it. And when that doctor, the little swarmy one, walked in, and I shouldn't be belittling him, but I just don't like the guy. And there's something about it, I just don't like him. And when he would have come in and I would have got that information, I felt it then. And when the doctor told me, we're just going to give him antibiotics, he's going to be fine, I told the nurse, did you hear that? He's going to be fine. And she wouldn't even look at me. She just looked down. And we had a good relationship with her. So it was like, that made me go, huh. But it didn't make me go, huh, enough to then check in. So what I noticed, there was times in life when I got the information and I did it. Like when I first heard about matrix energetics, I read the books, I watched the DVD, the CDs, I listened to a lot of interviews, and I was like, oh, I need to know that. I really need to know that. And I made a decision, and I felt it, and it felt right, and I ended up taking 35 classes, and it changed our lives. Same with the way when I learned my medical intuitive stuff, when I first saw it, the very first class, I was like, oh, I need to know this. I didn't know how to do this. And that led to 110 classes and 10 years of study and bringing a lot of those people, those teachers, into my actual office in San Diego. So what I have is a way to check information, so that when you're going through rough times, you've been practicing it, you know how to play with information and energy and know. Because what I found is when somebody's going through a hard time, it's good to have this type of way to get the right information and then use it, clear it. Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So if you want that sort of thing, there's a way to start to access it. And as you can imagine, it's not something to just be saying, hey, here's what you do right now, and let's just do it. Magic is magic. Magic is great. But there's a way to start to learn this. It's a skill. It's a way to play with the universe. It's a way to have information so that you know what to do, and you can shift things when it's crunch time, when you need it, when you absolutely need it. And so if that's interesting to you, if you want, you can grab some stuff I've given you for free, and then there's more information about a whole way to start to do this, to play with energy, to use mindset, and to really tune into what's true for you and make changes in the physical world using magic and all sorts of stuff, matrix energetics. And so if you want that, go ahead and grab it. It's www.ralphhavens.com/enlighten up. ralphhavens.com/enlighten up. and I've got a PDF and a video. The funny thing is, you got to do it, right? It's like you can get it, but if you don't do it, it's, good luck with that, right? So there's a lot of stuff to do. But if you really are interested in this sort of thing, and if you want to know how I found that can give you a way to really track information, to really know what to do, and to use it all day long, so that when it's important to you, you know what to do. And you can have some real changes in the physical world. All right, so this is Ralph Havens, ralphhavens.com/enlighten up. Go ahead and grab all that stuff and let me know how it goes. And if you like, test everything again, walk around, see how you feel, see if your view of the world is different now, and let me know. All right, everybody, have a great Friday if you're watching this live or today, and I will see you all very soon. All right, ralphhavens.com/enlighten up. Bye for now.